Yo, at least he didn't crack like Humpty Dumpty. Alright, guys, we have a cracked quarterback room to get through today. I was going to make a joke about Zach Wilson, but I mean, is he better than J.J. McCarthy? Yeah, let's get into 9 of these other guys. Vikings time. And with that, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Fun NFL. Please like and subscribe. Hope y'all are ready for the Minnesota Vikings 2026 roster. I guess we'll say that. This team going on last year, a lot of people, not a lot of people, certain Vikings fans were hopeful that they would be a good team because the roster was pretty stacked. It still isn't a good spot, but I mean, again, last year was a complete disaster, as y'all know. They started the season 4-8, ended up winning their last 5 games in meaningless fashion, still missed the playoffs. But Harrison Smith is still around. If I'm not mistaken, he's still on this team. No, he's not. Where the hell is Harrison Smith? Did he retire yet? Harrison Smith. Okay. Oh, there we go. This isn't very credible. If you know anything about Yahoo Sports, it's Yahoo Sports. But still, that is something. All right, back to this though. We look at this Vikings team. Again, if you have not watched past roster grades, we've already gone through the Bears. We haven't gone through the Lions, which kind of sucks. They're the last team in this division. But Vikings, Bears, Packers, we've already done. Again, that's past. It wasn't actual like anything indicative of what is coming next. Maybe it is. I don't know. You'll see. But yes. Again, if you haven't watched past roster grades, go watch the Jacksonville Jaguars roster grades. That was the first one he did in the series. Again, back in May, and that will be that'll be telling y'all, or was it June? I don't even remember. It was early. Timestamp, second timestamp will tell you guys all you need to know about this and kind of how the order of this thing works. But we'll go through this offense, we'll go through the quarterback and skill positions, the rest of it. Then we'll get into the defense with those two, the front seven, then the secondary, and then everything else after that. With that said, we will start this very crowded quarterback room, which I kind of already got through in the offseason short, which was again the featured video for every single team that you could have saw again a couple days ago here with the Vikings. But again, if you did not watch that, I will give you guys an actual analysis on these quarterbacks, at least somewhat of something. It's gonna be pretty casual though, because let's be honest. Do I really want to be talking about Max Brosmer any more than I have to? Absolutely not. With that said, though, Max Brosmer is going to be their 4th-string quarterback who probably won't even make the roster. Last year, they threw him into the Wolves. He had that one start versus the Seahawks, where he threw 4 picks, including that pick 6. They got shut out 26-0 on national TV. Again, Fox's schedule was really weak that week, so again, put him in a pretty tough spot. I will say, though, again, in that game against the Lions, when he had to come in, well, he did absolutely jack. He didn't lose in the game. So, I mean, again, that's definitely something. But again, Max Brosmer never should have been an NFL quarterback. But again, at least he got to start a game in his career. He can say that. Then we have Carson Wentz, I guess, is their 3rd-string quarterback. I still think he's the 2nd-best quarterback in this roster. Simply put, Carson Wentz is still an effective guy down the field. Again, his shoulder got absolutely blown out in that game against against the Eagles. And then they had him go out against the Chargers and basically die. And when that happened, it was I guess, bro. But again, I guess he's still on this team. Again, Carson Wentz has been a full-time starter since 2022, and that was, I'm going to be honest, guys, other than that 2020 season, that's really his only year where, again, he was objectively bad when he played. Every other year of his career, he's been really freaking good. Or against a rookie, obviously, rookie numbers. But still, Carson Wentz, again, it's kind of been a bizarre career for him. But again, for a guy that was, again, the MVP favorite in 2017, again, I'd like to see him get another shot at start at some point. But again, last year, was he good? Absolutely not. But, at the same time, it wasn't like he was by far the best quarterback in this roster last year. Then you got 9, who, again, they're still trying to figure something out with. Again, I guess he's in quarterback competition. But, guys, J.J. McCarthy, as I said, coming into the league, this guy just absolutely sucks. Maybe I didn't say that exactly. Now I'm kind of, really, again, overstepping. But still, I wasn't very confident coming in the NFL, and look at that. He hasn't been very good. While he doesn't put good velocity and pace on the ball, his anticipation is little to none. He's never really been an accurate guy, and his really just ability to connect downfield is just not there. And like I said, he has absolutely no touch on the ball, and his footwork is atrocious. On top of the fact that he makes a lot of stupid decisions. There's just a lot of things you look at J.J. McCarthy that kind of prevent him from being a consistent player, and that's the reason he sucks, and that's the reason he won't play a game this year. That's what you get there. Then you have Kyler Murray, who again at this point in his career is in kind of a peculiar spot. Again, he was #1 pick by the Cardinals back in 2019. A lot of expectations for him. He had a pretty fun rookie year. Then 2020, again, at least statistically, was his most dominant season of his career. Again, he had over 800 yards rushing and 11 touchdowns. Again, they had a really tough end of the year, which they should have made the playoffs. Again, 2021, that was the year. Again, you had all the injury. You had the 7-0 start. And then, again, his only playoff start, they got him embarrassed by the Rams. In the past 3 years, again, really the couple about the ACL injury, it's been very frustrating. Then last year, all accumulated, and him only playing 5 games, getting injured against the Titans, being healthy enough to play, but then the Vikings. not the Vikings, the freaking Titans, not the Titans. The Cardinals ended up cutting him after the season, and now he is a member of the Vikings, and he will be their starting quarterback. Thing about Kyler is he's always gonna have a good deep ball to the outside. His alert route, kind of. I won't even say, yeah, his handle on alert routes is huge. For a guy like Justin Jefferson, we'll talk about in a little bit. But it just really, you look at a guy like Kyler Murray, and you're like, he still can't throw over the middle field because he can't see. And he just hasn't really been able to consistently put together wins. And in the biggest moments, he always falls flat on his face. Yeah, on top of the fact that you have a lot of other good stuff on. But for me, I'm going to give this quarterback room a C-. Again, that might seem like a little bit high for a lot of people because of the fact that Kyler Murray, again, has not really been a particularly good quarterback since, I guess, 2023 in certain moments. I still think that 2024 season wasn't exactly bad. But again, Kyler Murray at this point is around kind of just honestly over him. But still, he is, again, a threat as a runner. He's, again, starting caliber quarterback. Again, other than that, though, it's a complete disaster. So, again, if he wasn't there, it would be kind of a meme. But still, I'm going to say 20 points there. And again, there's not really much of a ceiling there either. Okay, guys, now looking at this Vikings skill position group, it is a very interesting group, as I talked about the quarterbacks. Realistically, though, not a ton of it changed. Again, they brought in, again, a huge addition that I think a lot of people are just not really talking about as much as they should. But still, we'll start out this running back room, and this running back room is a little bit concerning. Aaron Jones, at this point in his career, is a shell of what he used to be. Last year, his numbers weren't, honestly that bad at all. But he couldn't stay healthy, and he really wasn't being able to, he didn't really break any big runs. 2024, I think, was a little bit of a, I wouldn't say that, was a little bit of an unstable year in terms of his yards over expectation, but still, he looked pretty good. I think the last year, again, at least consistently, we saw him be a really good back was 2023. Again, the past few years, especially receiving wise, again, especially last year, he hasn't really been as good. I still think that Aaron Jones could be a good situational kind of platoon back at this point in his career, but he's not going to give you consistent production as a #1 guy, just because the break tackle rate is way down, and he's just not even close to as good in terms of burst. Jordan Mason, I think, again, last year, kind of a surprise, again, a little bit, I wouldn't say surprising, but no one really, I don't think anyone realized he had basically the same yards per carry and the same numbers he had in 2024 with San Fran. The biggest thing, though, with Jordan Mason is the fact that he was put in a role where he had to start, and I don't think he really got the best out of him. He's never really been a capable receiving guy that's kind of put them in some hard spots, but I think if Aaron Jones can stay healthy for at least 15 games this year, there's really no reason these two guys can't really work well together, because Jordan Mason, in terms of efficiency and kind of downhill running, is a much more suited back than a guy like Aaron Jones. Damon Claiborne, they brought him in out of Wake Forest. This is a guy I think can get on the field on third down. He's a very savvy back in terms of what, making decisions back there, on top of the fact that he's an effective running back out of shotgun too, which again, it's not a hard thing to find. It's not an easy thing to find. But still, though, you're not going to really get consistent production out in terms of a ceiling out of him, because of the fact that even at Wake Forest, he really wasn't a guy you looked at as that, not even that big play guy, but more of the guy that can, extend drives. And for that reason, it's just kind of hard to see him, getting on the field too consistently, but he does have a big trade for them. Then they have Xavier Scott, who I guess had 114 yards last year, and really didn't do enough to kind of prove other things, so that's good. Claiborne should be their third back, though. Honestly, guys, this running back room, I'm going to give a B-. Again, it's just, Aaron Jones is, in my opinion, cooked. Jordan Mason's solid, and then Claiborne could be decent. Again, it's not a bad group at all. It's just the fact that I don't really think it's, again, a big difference maker for them. Now I move to receiver, which definitely will be. Again, if Kyler Murray can actually, get his head on straight, there's really no reason this receiving room can't all have a, I don't even say career year, but a massive year. Justin Jefferson somehow got to 1,000 yards with those receivers last year. He only caught 2 touchdowns, though. And that's really the thing with Justin Jefferson, except that, again, he may as well be on to having a, 15,000-yard career, but he hasn't really been a guy you look at to be, again, a big-time touchdown threat. Only 2 last year after a monster 2024 with Sam Darnold. Again, if he can get competent quarterback play like he did that year, and again, the year with back when Kirk Cousins played full seasons, again, I realistically could see him not even getting to 1,500 yards, maybe even 1,700 yards next year. Getting right back on where he needs to be. Again, breaking down Justin Jefferson's game at this point is basically meaningless. We all know what it is. Again, there was some diversification in terms of his release, but it's already, again, arguably the best release in football, so there's not really much for you to talk about there. He put up great numbers with a bad quarterback. I don't want to be, again, go too cheaper under. Yeah, he did have a dip in some of the more advanced metrics, and on tape he looked a little bit, I wouldn't even say slow, but a little bit less twitchy. But other than that, again, he's still a guy you look at as, again, one of the best, if not the best receivers in football. Jordan Addison, last year he was absolutely ass. I mean, I don't even know what to tell you guys. He was not good. In the red zone, he completely lost any of his feel. Any of his big plays came because there was just blown coverage. He did have an 81-yard, 65-yard score on Christmas, which is cool, though. But Jordan Addison needs to become much of a better threat downfield next year and really be able to stack on corners, because that really just wasn't a factor last year, despite the fact that he became a much more reliable thrower over the middle, which I guess is a good thing. But Jordan Addison, get that back in your game, bro, because that was kind of concerning. But as I said, Jordan Addison will be a very, very solid again, he's a very solid number 2. Then you have Jawan Jennings, who, again, arguably is a number 2 at this point in his career. Last year, he still had like 55 for 643 in an offense where he really wasn't featured as much as some people thought he was. Again, career 9 touchdowns, though, which is, again, good to mention. But, again, he really was their number 1 guy in 2024. Again, is he really that? Obviously not, but he has proven to be a very reliable player. Arguably probably the best top 3 receivers in the NFL there. After that, it's kind of like, what the hell is going on? Ty Felton, he hasn't really done anything in his career. And they got Joshua Jones. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I've never literally seen probably 5 routes out of him. Miles Price is a good special teamer, and then you got a bunch of bums. So you really have 3 guys, and then like one gets injured. It's like not the greatest thing in the world, but because it's that top 3, I'm going to give them an A. It's just, again, it's too good of a top 3 to really, again, ignore that. Because obviously Jordan Addison, again, did he play like number 2 last year? Not really, but I still got to give them that. Again, the depth is concerning, but that's, again, for this and not as much of the actual wide receiver. Again, it's got to be an A. It should be an A plus if they had better depth, though. 9, 18, 27, 36. What is that? 33 points at receiver. And then we wrap this up with the skill positions here at tight end. And this is a group that is really, again, I don't even care about Gavin Bartholomew, who, again, at a pit there, or, Ben Yorzik, because neither goes. I mean, maybe Yorzik will get a big week in fantasy, but probably not. T.J. Hawkinson's been their starter for, again, quite a long time now, like 4 years, if I'm not mistaken, after he moved over from Detroit. Yeah. Last year was, again, a career low with him on the team in terms of receiving yards, but he honestly, I think, got like 5 routes the entire season that actually threatened the seam. That really wasn't a part of his game. He was more of a primary blocker and a guy that you could get underneath as kind of a safety blanket. And for a guy that has had, again, really bad injury issues on this team over the last couple of years, again, I think it is a good thing they're trying to lean more into that, just because of the fact that it's not always a great thing to put your again, to put a guy like that who, again, is still recovering in those sort of situations. But I do expect him to be a little bit more a dynamic threat this year. Again, at the same time, he is, what now, 28, so, yeah. Yeah, like I said, I think we'll get back to that. And then if we move to their backup tight end, which is Josh Oliver, he's actually been on this team a little bit too. I'm actually shocked he caught 4 touchdowns last year, but he is a guy that in terms of if you want to throw him out in the flat and him being able to kind of box out a cornerback and put a good, outside high probability throw out there, he definitely can give you that. And even then, I think he can still line up as a receiver and at least not be taken as a joke, which is something. So good versatility with Josh Oliver, though. Is he really, again, a starting, again, a guy who wants to out there often? Probably not. And then you also have Max Bredesen. Is he Ben Bredesen's brother? Is Max Bredesen Ben Bredesen's, why do you say son? Brother. That makes sense. And they're both very good run blockers. I mean, Ben Bredesen is something else, but out of Michigan, good for him. He's a good blocker too. We'll take that into account. For me, I'll give this tight end room a B. Again, obviously you didn't see that level of play out of T.J. Hawkinson last year, but again, I do expect a jump in production. So I'm gonna say 16 points. Not a bad group there. That's all I have for this skill position group. Now let's get to this offensive line. And now moving into this Vikings offensive line, it is a good group. Is that what we're calling it? Oh, speaking of that, where did Ryan Kelly go? Because they brought him in, he just didn't play. He got injured. What'd you know? He retired. I think we knew that. But anyways, this offensive line, again, the tackles have been here for like 5-6 years now. And they actually have a really fun group in terms of the depth, so I really want to go into it. But first off, we'll start with their, again, franchise left tackle in Christian Darrisaw, who, again, had a brutal knee injury. What was that, 2 years ago now? Christian Darrisaw. Reference. There we go. All right, let's look at this. It was, yeah, what am I talking about? Last year. What was his injury this year? Or is he coming back from it? I need to freaking remember this. Did Christian Darrisaw get injured again in 2025? Jesus. Or just returned late? Okay. There we go. That's what I thought it was. He was cooked last year. That's why, again, I don't want to say this game against the Chargers, but it's kind of true. The Vikings' worst game last year was against the Chargers in that Week 8 Thursday Night Football. But in that game, specifically, he had a lot of trouble basically being able to kick out off of Tuli Tupelotu and kind of counter his ghost move into kind of an inside counter. That was a big issue with him last year, at least in that game. And that was really the game I watched a lot of Christian Darrisaw. But still, you still saw a lot of the same athleticism that, I'm not going to say burst, because the burst really wasn't there last year, but kind of the ability to anchor and just completely shut down any sort of power. That is, again, a very encouraging sign for a guy like Christian Darrisaw. Still, though, Again, it wasn't the same guy overall, which is what I'd say. Caleb Tiernan's the backup. He's another guy that doesn't really do a great job in terms of mobility, but he's very, very good at understanding leverage, and he is a compact enough guy where at 6'7", despite his height, he doesn't really play with the low pad level, but he has the strength to kind of, move dudes the way he wants to, and really just set an edge at the end of the day. Left guard, you have Donovan Jackson, who had a very fantastic rookie season. The biggest problem, I think, with his season last year is that no one really understood his game as a pass blocker, because of the fact that most of his pressures, when he gave them up, it was kind of him sacrificing it for the throw to get off, to be honest with you guys. There were certain times where a run, again, when they ran the ball the next play, it basically showed the defensive lineman trying to read off Donovan Jackson. And again, he really just didn't let that happen. Again, that was very vague, I understand that. But basically, Donovan Jackson was playing mind games as a rookie. You're not really expecting that to happen. So the fact that was a thing, and also the fact that as a run blocker, he was very tenacious, and it was very, very hard to get off his block. And also, in pass pro, rarely got beat with straight power. Those sort of things are just, again, very, very telling of how good of a player he's going to be. And you also have Henry Bird. I'm not going to lie, guys. This guy is a technician in terms of what you're going to see out of him. He very rarely gets beat after the first punch, because even if he misses per se and it's not getting too precise, he's able to shoot back and kind of reset very, very easily, which I think is huge. But so you look at a guy like Henry Bird as kind of this unathletic dude from a lot of different perspectives, but I still think he's a guy that could stick there. Then you have Blake Brandel, center. He's pretty average in my opinion. You do get an athletic player for sure. Again, really good at kicking in into certain double teams and combo blocks, but again, also he's a guy that you can really kick around if you really want to get creative. So run blocker, very versatile. As a pass blocker, definitely flawed in terms of his technique, but only comes to, again, a certain extent with that. Also, Michael Jurgens, this guy's out of Wake Forest, I guess, bro. He's just kind of been around as backup, and he's been a decent player. Will Fries is a really solid right guard. Joe, again, I want to say more, but like, let's be honest. Do we really want to hear a lot about Joe? Will Fries? We all know he's a good player. Joe Hobart, never heard of him. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. Brian O'Neill is again, boring player. It doesn't really, doesn't take a rocket science to realize he's a good player. And you also have a Ryan Vandermark, again, former Buffalo Bill there. So again, Kevin O'Connell's O-line here, you look at it, again, there's some decent continuity. You have a guy that I'm really, again, bullish on in Donovan Jackson, a center that's going to give you good play, again, a tackle that has been one of the best tackles in football the past couple years, and you have, again, two very, very good guys on this side. For me, this offensive line is going to get an A-. The reason it's not, I guess, quite higher, I'll give it an A, screw it. That's what they deserve. Even, again, you could argue it's even an A+. This is arguably the best offensive line, not arguably the best, but one of the better offensive lines in football, I'll say. So 6, 12, 18, 22 points. Again, that's really the only thing, if you're a Vikings fan, you can kind of put, I guess, hold your hat on, but no one's going to do that because, again, if you're holding your hat on your offensive line, that's probably not good. But surprising 112 points for this Vikings offense. That'll put them in the B- tier, which is where they belong. This is a talented group. It's just your quarterback situation is a question. Alright guys, now we are back to the front sevens, and what'd you know, we're off of the 4-3 run, so we're back to a 3-4 group, and this group is something else. But at linebacker, they obviously have a very good group going. Eric Wilson finally back in the starting lineup. He basically started last year. Again, you look at Eric Wilson, the years he's had. Again, obviously was a Viking for a while. 2020, he got absolutely exposed in coverage. Left for Philly, was a backup. 2021, he got injured. No, I'm joking. He played his thing. He was a backup though with the Eagles, and then the Vikings. I don't even know how it happened with the Texans that year. Then he went to the Packers the next 3 years, worked his back the first 2 years, kind of got better in coverage. 2024, kind of took a dip in his overall coverage ability, especially in zone. There were definitely some plays where he got picked on. But 2025, last year, he proved himself as a starter, was an elite blitz guy, not just in terms of the, again, career highs and sacks, but he also actually got you decent percentage pressure rate, which is, I guess, bro. But yeah, really solid season from Eric Wilson. It'll be interesting to see if he can, hold down that spot. Maybe not though, because Jake Golday is coming right for that. He get very compact, very solid tackling the rookie. And I guess him and Ivan Pace will be competing too, because Ivan Pace lost his starting job last year because he also couldn't cover a cold in his and he was missing tackles left and right. So yeah, but he's obviously an athletic guy, so it'll be very interesting to see those guys go. You also Blake Cashman, who's obviously their starting linebacker, had a massive year in Houston back in 2023, earned himself a really nice contract with the Vikings, and ever since he's been better and better and better. I'm not gonna say he's an elite guy by any means, because at least in terms of the trades, that's just not there. But he's a very good linebacker. For me, this is a group that has a lot of healthy competition. No true, again, second guy in terms of actual consistent starting ability, but good depth. And again, that is something that plays in this. I'm going to give this linebacker core a B. That's going to be 9, 18, and 24 points for them. And then we look at this defensive line now. This is a group that is quite something special. We got Levi Drake Rodriguez, who struggles, we'll just say that, to shed blocks on a consistent level. Again, the 43 tackles you look at here, this is basically him just being cleanup, and his pressure rate was pretty abysmal last year. He has absolutely no giddy up off the line, on top of the fact that you're just not going to get a ton of good pressure. Got a ton of good power off of him. Eric Johnson, I don't care about. Caleb Banks, again, he was an 18th overall pick. I think that, again, as a nose tackle, you definitely need to get really solid penetration out of him and really be able to influence the pocket the way he wants to. But production, I don't think will ever be there. And again, for the 18th pick, as I talked about with, a lot of people talked about with Dexter Lawrence when he was drafted. Obviously, that didn't change where it was justifiable. But at that time, it's like, is nose tackle really the worth pick there? I don't really think so. I think, though, Dominic Orange here is really good as well. Both of those guys will be very, very aggressive. But yeah, Dominic Orange, I want to see him get on the field more. So again, really intriguing there. Then you have Jalen Redmond, who last year had a breakout season with 60 tackles and 6 sacks. I think really the big thing here with him is the fact that he is a guy that can win with violent, and I mean violent hands. And the fact there's just not a ton of guys that will give you that on a consistent level, at least at this position. Being the right defensive tackle, it's huge. And you really look at his moves, you have a swipe and a scissor kind of combo that really work well off each other. That's kind of where he got his success last year. Tyron Ingram-Dawkins, I guess he's here, bro. Again, that's what's going on. But for me, this depth has, again, a guy like Dominic Orange who should be really good. Two kind of non-factors, and then a pretty intriguing story. Again, these two guys, Jesus, what a stutter. Dominic Orange will probably start by the end of the year, though. For me, it's a very intriguing group with a lot of upside. I'm going to give it a B. Probably should be a B+, though. Again, we just haven't really seen those other guys play. 16 points, though. Now we'll look at this pass rush as a whole as we'll go to the edge rushers and then back into this D-line. Overall, the pass rush from the interior actually projects to be pretty damn good. I'm probably going to give that like around a B+. We'll say a B. No, definitely a B+. All right, off the edge, you have Andrew Van Ginkel and Dallas Turner. We'll start with Dallas Turner, who had a breakout season after kind of a frustrating rookie year. Last year, the biggest thing with him was the fact that he was able to win with speed to power. That was his thing. And also the fact that he does have those lateral quickness that kind of exploded into a lot of second step kind of wins are reasons why you could see Dallas Turner really carrying the load this year and maybe put up a pressure rate that we have not seen other than really since Neil Hunter's first couple of seasons. And you look at Jonathan Grenard, he really never had a pressure rate that Dallas Turner, I think, could really put up. You also have Andrew Van Ginkel, who still had 7 sacks last year. The problem with him is that he's just not a natural pass rusher. You can put a lot of versatile spots. The fact that he is able to shoot gaps super duper well, and he's very good at attacking leverage, is a huge plus with him. But again, if we're just talking about pure pass rush moves, he's got decent enough bend and really good secondary kind of intricacies with his game that I think could definitely help him out. But at the same time, he's just not a pure pass rusher, and he never will be. So you're only going to get so much, again, true good things out of him. But again, definitely a number 2 guy. Bo Richter, whatever the hell his name is. This is a dude that I'm not going to lie, I probably watched similar to, he's at the Air Force, what the heck. But he's very similar to, where is he? Joe Huber. I just haven't watched enough of his game to really give you guys a big reaction, which is probably my fault. But he is a solid tackler from what I've heard. Then you also have Chaz Chambliss on the other side. This is a dude that is kind of ass, I'm not going to lie. He kind of got absolutely dogged against, no, it wasn't against the Rams. I forgot what school it was. Who was it? Freaking, it was one of the earlier Georgia games. That's what I remember from him. He's around, and then you have some other dudes. But for me, this pass rush as a whole, I'm going to give a B. I'm going to say a B+. There's too much potential with Redmond and Dallas Turner to really say otherwise. Again, they have absolutely no depth off the edge. There's like literally no rotation going on whatsoever there. I guess Richter could do something, but he literally has a sack in his career. So like, what are we really doing here? I'm gonna say a B+ though. No, I'm gonna give it a B. B+ is a little bit overzealous, but I think that group is gonna be something to watch this year. So that's gonna be 32 points there. Now let's look at the secondary before the defense figures out its grade. And for this secondary, it is a very, I'm going to say, risky game they're trying to play here, just because of the fact that in this, at corner specifically, there's really no guy that I'm looking at who I'm like, yeah, that's your dude, at least on the boundary. Isaiah Rodgers, this is a guy that has been a starter for a couple of years now. Again, everyone's talking about his infamous, 3-touchdown game last year. But other than that, like, actually, purely in coverage, he was an ineffective player in man, and he struggled. And I mean struggled to maintain his gap when the ball was going his way. And really the biggest thing, though, in zone coverage is the fact that while, yes, he's very good at blanking receivers, he's not a guy who's going to get exactly force incompletions on his own. So for those being like big issues of his game, it's kind of hard for me to see this guy being a starting caliber player this year. Still, though, you're definitely going to get big plays out of him. James Pierre, he's probably their best corner on the boundary on this entire roster. He was on the Steelers since 2020. The biggest part of his game is the fact that he is a hard guy to beat to the outside of the field, especially when he has his leverage lined up. But again, also if you have the right shade against him, he is a guy that can be susceptible to double moves. And also the fact that if you do a double fake with a hot route, there's going to be a good chance that he'll be moved off of that too. So James Pierre, while he's probably their best boundary corner, he's still not a guy that I'd really consider overall better than a net average. Charles Demings out of Stephen F. Austin. I've heard this guy can fly, and he's very, very good at tracking the ball. But it really doesn't matter in terms of what I've seen because, again, a lot of his plays he's given up are just straight curl routes. I got to stop watching that. Dwayne McGoldern, I've never heard of this dude, so that's great. And then you have a bunch of literally no one else in the corner. And then you got Byron Murphy as in the nickel back. And Byron Murphy is a very, very good player. He's been really his entire career. I think that his hip fluidity is definitely seen a little bit of a decline. He's not as astute as he was when he used to be on the boundary. But again, in terms of the slot, him being able to make plays, it's going to be a good thing anyways. Tavir Thomas, he's another guy who can do stuff. For me, though, this cornerback room is going to be a C. It's just because I don't really trust their starters. Again, you got James Perry, who's been a backup really for the past couple years. Isaiah Rodgers, similar sort of thing. And you got, again, Byron Murphy's legit. But other than that, it's just kind of like, what are we doing? So I'm going to say a C at corner for them. That might be even a little bit nice. But that's going to be 10 points. And if we move to the safety room, which isn't really a ton better because of the fact that a guy like Joshua Metellus hasn't really proven to be a consistent player, even though, again, he's obviously the most versatile player in the entire league. Again, the biggest thing with him is that he's a very, very good tackler, and he's very hard to move in space. The problem with that is that in coverage, he is very easily displaced because of his over tendency to kind of caught on these inbreakers and really try to be the guy who makes the play there, which isn't really his job. So that sort of fundamental thing with him is just, it's got to change. And they got Jay Ward as his backup. I don't think he missed a tackle last year, which was awesome, but he also gave a lot of big plays. Theo Jackson, a free safety, will be fun to watch. This is a guy that actually does have legit range. It's just the fact that I don't really think he has the instinctive consistencies to really be able to, again, kind of hold that down. But I don't think there'll be a ton of balls going over his head this year. And then you also have Jacoby Thomas, who's out of Miami. Cool. He's really isn't that good. So, yeah. But for me, the safety room was also going to be a C. I'll say a C+. It's a little bit better than what they've got going on at safety or cornerback, but it's still not something I'd be too encouraging. If we add all that up for this defense, 16, 8, 24, 32, 10, what the heck, plus 18, that's going to give us 100 points for this defense, which isn't a great score, but still, it's going to put them as a C+, which is probably where they belong. You look at this defense, you have a weaker secondary and really not a true superstar as a pass rusher. So really, what this defense screams is a lack of depth and a lack of superstar talent, which isn't always a great place to be, which is why they knocked it out to about a dead average. And now for the Vikings situation at the kicking situation. At the special teams parts of their roster, as well as the depth and the identity, which we'll get to in a little bit. We do have Roll Reichard here. He has been something. Again, obviously, coming out of Alabama, a lot of prestige there, and he has kind of lived up to his expectations fully. Not really. Then you have Johnny Hecker, who's still around at 36. Good for him. He's a solid punter. Not as good as he used to be, though. Miles Price, I guess, bro, and then you have Andrew DePola there as well. For me, and again, if we're looking at the special teams unit as a whole, it's probably a little bit below average. I'm probably going to say a C-, because as good as Reichard is, the rest of the group really doesn't, again, inspire me a lot, even though, again, you have a guy like Josh Metellus in there always being a factor. Now for the depth, again, quarterback depth, I'm not going to lie to y'all, has to be like a C+, just because of how many options you have. Running back depth, I'd probably give a B, so I'm going to say we're at a B-. The receiver depth is absolutely a D-ish. We're going to say a D, so we're probably down to a C for this team depth, just because, again, literally have no one after the top three. Tight end depth, I'd give a B. Again, it's really just those top two, which I'm completely fine with risking. So that for that reason, I mean, we'll say a B-. So still at a C. O-line depth, I'd probably give a B+. That's probably going to move it up to a C+. And then if we move it into this D-line, again, overall mixed bag, probably a C+. We'll just say we're at a C+ then. Jesus, what a freaking stutter. We're going to say an A for the linebackers, and then off the edge is an F, so that probably nets out to a C, so we're just going to say we're still at a C+. Quarterback depth is probably an F too. I mean, Tavir Thomas isn't a bad player, so maybe we'll see. It's D-, I guess. I'll say that. We're probably down to a C. Safety depth isn't much better. We're going to say a C overall for this Vikings roster. Again, there's just a lot of positions that are thin, and that's not really a great place you want to be in, so yeah, I guess, bro. That's going to be 20 points, though, at the depth of this team. And now the identity. Kevin O'Connell's had this team the past years in situations where they can make two of the last three situations where they could have made a run at the playoffs, but it hasn't really happened because they haven't really had the quarterback situation. And in those even years, at least the past four, they've been kind of a lot more competitive and been able to win a lot of games. They're not winning 14 games this year. I still think, though, that there are good vibes here, and I think that they will be a team that will be consistently competitive regardless of who's the quarterback. So that's the reason I'll say a B there at the identity. That's going to be 15, 30, 40 points there, and if we add that all up, that's going to be 4 plus 20 plus 140 plus 100 plus 112. That's going to give the Vikings one under the Colts at 246 points. That will put them 76 points, my bad. That'll put them right in the B- here, which is where I think they belong. This is a Vikings roster that is honestly well constructed. The biggest issue is the fact they don't really have the depth to consistently match things, and also their high-end guys in this roster have either left or aren't on the defensive side of the ball. So if we keep that in mind, that is where this Vikings team is heading. 276 points, which isn't really that bad of a grade at all. B- though for this Vikings team. That's all I have for y'all. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see y'all for the next team in a little bit.